Oskar, Rena, thank you very much for joining us today. So today we're going to be speaking about IBM's capabilities in the non-for-profit space, talking about a specific customer implementation. So if you could just introduce yourselves to kick off.
My name is Oskar Bouveng. I've been working with IBM now for about 4 years, doing a bit of mixed industries, and kind of transitioned into solution architecture about 2 years ago. So that's my main forte, put it that way.
Yeah, my name is Rena Sathia, and I have been working with IBM Salesforce practice now for a little over 5 years, and I span across both the delivery and sales enablement, and I often get my fingers and toes in projects and deliveries as well. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great to hear. So to kick things off, could you give us an overview of what the non-for-profit cloud from Salesforce actually is?
So basically this started off as the MPSP package a couple of years back, which was then purposely built it was more of an add-on to Sales Cloud originally, where you could, to kind of enable a data model to kind of aid these not-for-profits specifically. And it has then transitioned into a full-blown cloud because through the Salesforce.org kind of relationship, and the kind of Salesforce also does the 1+1+1 pledge. It's been tricky to say, but so they are really focused on being able to enable these kind of organizations to also make the best use of the platform. So on this platform, they can do anything from, like, it's a lot around recurring donations, making sure that goes smoothly, making sure that they can use They also use Marketing Cloud quite a lot in combination to be able to reach out to their supporters. It's kind of a little bit along those lines.
So non-profit cloud can integrate with all the other Salesforce clouds as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of, it sits a bit on top of Sales Cloud, where this part of, for example, recurring donations is handled via the opportunities. So each month you create an opportunity that kind of, that then, so you can have that recurring basis on an automation around it. So so you don't have to kind of do anything manual with opportunities. So each month and so on. And it's also, there's a lot of other like ISVs in the space that are building on top of this. So we will get into that a little bit further later as well, but there's things like specific solutions around like gift aid in the UK and so on. So yeah, it's quite interesting to see how it's been evolving since I started.
It's quite comprehensive now.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So IBM are obviously a very large, well-respected partner in the Salesforce space, but I suppose probably not many people know about what you're actually doing in the non-for-profit space. So could you give us some insights into that?
Yeah, we at IBM have been working with a non-for-profit cloud for about nearing a decade now, and the goal has always been to help these organizations do what they do best by streamlining their technology, because while IT is so important for them to be able to do their outreach and so on, we want to allow them to focus on what they do best, which is kind of raising awareness about their cause, facilitating easy ways to donate, and also, making their volunteers kind of creating a space where they can be an extension of the organization itself.
Great. And it's really cool to see IBM putting their, decades of IT experience working in the non-for-profit space. But I believe we're going to speak about one particular customer today, and about their challenges. So maybe you could give us some insight into that. So
we've been working with one of the leading UK nonprofits, which are specifically focused on making the lives easier of people living in difficult conditions. And this specific client had an issue around fundraising and volunteering specifically. So, and as an overall kind of the underpinning problem was that their legacy system was basically not allowing them to keep up with other organizations in the same space. So this was a classic example of the software not being able to scale with the organization, and then we had a little bit of silo ways of working and also disparate data. So it was putting them a bit on the back foot. There was an additional layer of complexity here because they had a lot of issues around financial management. So, and because donations are such a crucial part of their goals, they were really being hurt by their system not being able to kind of correctly log the donations each time. So kind of to counteract this, their leadership set out a vision to have one platform where they could then unite their employees, their supporters, and their volunteers so that they can work together. And Salesforce was kind of the foundation of this whole vision.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, Oskar. And Rena, could you maybe give us some insights into how IBM made this customer's vision a reality with Salesforce?
So we had a chance to obviously spend a lot of time with the client to discuss their current state, their challenges, and their vision, as Oskar mentioned, to kind of bring a unified view into everything. And given the industry that they're in and marrying that up with Nonprofit Cloud was just a kind of perfect solution or start to the solution. And additionally, we also realized that just very specifically, as Oskar mentioned, they were having a lot of trouble managing their financial ledgers, which is quite important from a tracking reporting perspective as well. And so we were able to partner with FinDoc on this, and specifically on the App Exchange, there's also payments for Salesforce, which just combined built a really, really powerful potential solution for them. The other thing with FinDoc that was really great is that they're a leader in the nonprofit space, which is great. And they've done plenty of custom solutions when it comes to gift aid and fundraising. So combining, partnering with FinDoc and also knowing that they've done plenty in the space when it comes to nonprofit, they have experience in designing solutions when it comes to gift aid and fundraising. It was just kind of the perfect combination of things for a solution that would fit and align with the requirements for the client and bring the vision to life. It was just really great collaborating with them because, as you know, Ben, customers always have custom needs. And when there's more complexity required when it comes to things like a financial ledger and managing that type of process within Salesforce, again, there's customization required. And so as great as FinDoc is as a platform natively, it just wasn't able to kind of requirements-wise align with just the native functionality. So we really partnered with them and the client and just collaborated to create a very customized solution. And we were able to do that really nicely because we were just building on top of Nonprofit Cloud, and it all just kind of made sense to then add the FinDoc component and the payments for Salesforce component, and it all worked out really well.
Great. I mean, it's fantastic when you're working with someone who has such industry expertise, as I'm sure IBM does in the nonprofit space, because you're just able to deliver value so much faster. So great. Thank you very much. So Oskar, maybe you could give us some insights into how you were able to identify the issues of this project so quickly and deliver value without impacting the quality at all.
Yeah, sure, Ben. So in IBM, we have this framework called the IBM Garage. And this is a framework which is used throughout the whole organization. And we specifically built for being able to innovate at pace and scale. So it combines agile principles and some design thinking so that we can, in the best way possible, we can collaborate with both stakeholders and our subject matter experts to make sure that we go directly at the client's goals. But then we also used, which is more specific to our Salesforce practice, where we used a methodology called Innovation as a Service, Innovas for short, so it's a small AAS, as on all the software as a service and so on. And this methodology was created because we realized that clients' needs are never static, and they're always impacted by both inner and outer factors. So what we did with this principle was that we wanted to make sure they had both flexibility and they were also put the innovation first from the get-go. So each of these every project that uses Innovas starts with an innovation session, and the innovation session is where we really kind of deep dive into the client's needs and their issues, so that we can pinpoint what should be on top of the list to tackle. And we then put this through, and to get there, we put it through an evaluation framework we created. And this then, using this, we can then prioritize them and plot them on our a roadmap so that we can, chart a clear path to, the client's goals. And then with these innovation sessions, the key is that we have them all every quarter. So we keep kind of coming back and revisiting the client's needs, and if anything's changed the environment as well, we take that into account, just to make sure we have that constant loop. And the second part within Innovas is we have a different kind of resource flexibility than we normally have. So at the end of the session, we set kind of a baseline of what they need to address the goals that we have agreed on. But we also have so it's kind of a tiered approach. We have a lower tier and an upper tier. So they could either flex down to a smaller group, and this could be, for example, if they, let's say they have a big project going on within the organization, which will need kind of their SMEs to shift their focus, so we can kind of, adapt to their needs. And on the flip side, let's say they have finished off another project and they can absorb more changes this time, then we can also scale up in no time, so that we always kind of adapt both the needs, but also the resources to build that.
So next up, the Innovas approach seems really unique and effective. So maybe you could give me and our audience some insights or some top tips of how we can implement principles from Innovas in our own project.
So with any implementation or project, there's contributing factors to it being successful. And some of those are very baseline, like scope alignment with the customer, making sure we're okay with the scope, they're okay with the scope. The budget, client maturity, and their understanding of the technology. But I think we were able to really extract some, I guess, top tips from this engagement in particular. And so, that brings me to my first one. I would say the first one is probably prioritization. This goes hand in hand with innovation as a service, Innovas. And the nice thing about it is that, again, Oskar mentioned sometimes clients' priorities are constantly shifting because business is never static, it's constantly shifting. And so what Innovas allows you to do is actually check in with the client in a semi-structured way to adjust the roadmap or to reprioritize and work with your partners. And that's exactly what we were doing with FinDoc alongside our team while we were executing. And so prioritizing was huge because it really allowed the client to get some breathing space as well, instead of just having to stick to a really, really stern plan. And that kind of helped the client also just make it a bit easier for them to approach us when it came to shifting priorities as well. We were able to kind of guide those conversations. And the next one is just being able to really co-plan and collaborate, truly collaborate with the client as well as any third parties or partners that you're working with. And in this case, obviously it was FinDoc. And, under the Innovas structure, we were able to kind of come together after our innovation sessions and co-create a plan versus us as IBM taking away the requirements, putting a plan together, and then telling the client, here's the plan. And what that really allowed us to do in terms of the success was we had the investment from the client, we had the investment from FinDoc when it came to their dependencies, and we were really asking them, what's realistic for you in terms of being able to accomplish this in this amount of time? And if they said, we won't be able to do this, this isn't our only priority at work, we need some more flexibility within the plan. So what that allowed us to do is we, again, created the plan with them so it was actually doable and realistic for all parties involved, including FinDoc. Because as you know, there are always dependencies within a project, and it's really, really difficult to, I guess, meet those dependencies if you are not co-creating the plan with the client and taking the client on the journey as well as, FinDoc as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and I would also go into DevOps. I would say is a very important thing. And when thinking about DevOps, it's kind of a buzzword that's being used a lot. And most of the time, I think about the tools which kind of underpin that. So that which allows us to continuously deploy and test and so on. But one thing I've come to realize is as important to have the mindset as well within the whole team. So kind of adopting this kind of ethos of continuous improvement, because if you have both the tools in place and also a team that's set for this, then you can really make sure to improve the product and make it better and better with each sprint. And another thing that's really important, I would say, is always to strive for repeatability. I think we can often be guilty of trying to reinvent the wheel every time. And one of the best ways to do this is to create assets. So, for example, in IBM, we have this asset called IBM Instant Insights, which is a Salesforce plugin, which can quickly scan a Salesforce org, and it then spits out some concrete recommendations within 30 minutes. So you can kind of directly see, am I having too many record types? Are there any Apex slides I need to consolidate? So it's a way to kind of supercharge your discovery journey. I would say then change management is also very important, but I'm going to hand over to Rena because she is a bit more, she put it more eloquently than I will.
Thanks, Oskar. So yeah, I would say one of the things that made this project in particular so successful was the investment in change management and learning. I think a lot of times organizations kind of say, oh, we can manage that on our own, or that's one person that can send out some comms. It's so much more than that. And I think this client truly understood the value in change management and adoption, and as it related to the adoption of the system, because we all know that you could build a really beautiful, perfect system or a solution, but if you don't have your end users on board, or if you don't have the right stakeholders on board, it's pretty pointless because adoption's going to suffer. And then your investment in Salesforce suffers as well. And so we were able to talk to them about this very early on in the actual selling part and the engagement. And they truly saw the value in it and the return on it after the project was done. And yeah, we basically had a distinct work stream that was dedicated to change management. We involved a lot of the end users up front to get their kind of needs, wants, and desires when it came to requirements. We, got a lot of the leadership involved, leadership team, as well as the primary stakeholders when it came to the actual project. And so I would say that was a huge part in the organization actually adopting the solution correctly, and them actually seeing and feeling the benefits of the actual solution.
Yeah, great. Sounds like it was a pretty perfectly run project, so great to use the blueprint for...
We tried, yeah.
As near as you can get.
Yeah,
great. So we're nearing the end of our fireside chat. So again, thank you very much for being here today. So for our audience, what can we expect from IBM in the future in the non-profit space specifically?
Yeah, so in general, Salesforce has their 1+1+1+1 pledge. I don't know if I got that right, but the people on the call will know which one I'm talking about and alluded to it earlier. And one key part of that is Salesforce is they keep being committed to providing Salesforce to nonprofits at a preferential rate. And this is we think this is really great because this kind of extends this great technology to companies that might not be able to make the most use of it otherwise, and they are so dependent on outreach as well to kind of get their costs out there. So our commitment will be to kind of keep upskilling our nonprofit specialists and keeping up with all the updates that Salesforce get out. With these 3 every year, it's always something happening. So it's a great space to be in, both that always something new to learn about, but also I think probably for myself, it's that it's actually really rewarding to see the kind of costs you're helping. So
yeah, there's a lot to keep up with in the Salesforce space, but that's kind of a good thing. So great. Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ben.
Cheers.